USA Ultimate presents the 2015 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships. One more champion to be crowned here in Westchester, Ohio. Lakota West High School, the setting for the men's crown as San Francisco and Revolver get set to take on Toronto GOAT. A look at the brackets yesterday in the semifinals. GOAT shocked Johnny Bravo 14-12 to punch their ticket into the final round, while Revolver was a three-point winner over a young and upstart Truck Stop squad. And with that, welcome Sean Kinney alongside the voice of Ultimate, Evan Lepler. And Evan, let's push the rewind button back a season ago. 2014, these two teams arguably involved in probably the most talked about game in the world of Ultimate, yet we're in a new year, which means completely new rosters, a new team, and just an overall new feeling.
Well, heading into the quarterfinal round last year, Revolver had been the best team in the regular season. Johnny Bravo, the eventual champ, the most talented team perhaps with all their new imports, and everybody was looking forward to Revolver and Bravo. It would have been in the semis in Frisco last fall, but GOAT, a huge upset. Universe Point taking down Revolver. That denied us the matchup, and just like last fall, last night, GOAT takes down Johnny Bravo. We don't get Bravo Revolver. We get GOAT Revolver, a chance for San Francisco to get some revenge. I like Revolver's chances, but GOAT, if they play their best game, can upset Revolver again.
How is this Revolver team different from a season ago?
Well, they're just more polished. They've added a few pieces. We see Christian Johnson getting loose. They've also added Jamie Quella and Kevin Cox from the mixed division, but they bring everybody back. Their younger players like Simon Higgins, Greg Cohen, Lucas Dahlman are a year older, and their older players, their veterans, are still as good as ever. Cassidy Rasmussen's had a heck of a tournament, and Bo Kittredge is still the star in the sport. The deep speed that's unparalleled. If I'm GOAT, I'm trying to force Bo underneath and making him become a thrower, because that's when GOAT could take a little bit of advantage. If Bo Kittredge is running this open deep, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Torontonians.
Now, the team we see today for GOAT won't necessarily be the squad we see come October at Nationals.
Well, it's been an interesting preseason for Toronto GOAT. Their best player from last year, Mark Lloyd, he's hurt. Jonathan Martin, who helped to step into the Lloyd role, he got hurt as well. He's hopeful to be back by the fall. He's not sure. But without those guys, others have stepped up. We saw Isaiah Massick-Kelly yesterday, and this guy, Remy Ojo, has had a breakout tournament. He's probably the fastest guy on the team, except for perhaps Andrew Carroll. And we're going to see Ojo likely on Kittredge a lot in this game. This is the final point last night. Ojo going up over Jimmy Mickle for the winning score, sending GOAT to the championship game. They've had a lot of big wins, but they've never gotten the big one in a national tournament. Today, they think is the day to do it.
The opening poll coming up next. Revolver looking for their third straight U.S. Open title. San Francisco, Toronto next. USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultra Star. The Triple Crown Tour, the sport of Ultimate's premier competitive experience, and by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of Ultimate in the United States. For more information or to find out where to play Ultimate in your area, visit usaultimate.org. Two teams from Pool B getting set to square off. Let's meet the starters. First off, for Revolver, the two-time defending champs of this tournament, Higgins, Rasmussen, Johnson, the all-world Bo Kittredge, Schlockett, Schlag, and Kassednar, the handling crew for head coach Mike Payne. On the opposite side, for Toronto GOAT, Isaiah Massick-Kelly, Lindquist, Harris, McKnight, also Adrian Yearwood. I thought he was critical yesterday. A couple of goals in the upset win against Johnny Bravo. Scott Hasty serving as the coach. Here's what you need to know about the sport of Ultimate. 7 players to a side. First 1 to 15 wins unless there's a soft cap applied. Halftime, once a team scores 8 goals, disc may advance in any direction. Once you catch the disc, you cannot run. You have to keep that pivot. Players must pass the disc within 10 seconds. Self-officiating, you'll see the gentlemen in orange out there. They're called observers. They just jump in just in case the players cannot settle it. Then they will go to the observers' ruling. As you see Revolver break from the huddle, they have been dynamite here in this opening tournament. And I say that because typically these early season tournaments, you don't see teams peak right away. But boy, they just have looked on top of their game. As you take a look at the pool play in the first matchup, they led 8-6 at half. They dominated the second half in tune to a 7-point victory. You see Kittredge with the 4.9. Higgins, the same story. what's Revolver going to have to do to try to duplicate that performance again and come away with the title?
Well, Mike Payne takes the U.S. Open very seriously. I mean, to them, this is not a preseason tournament. This is an opportunity to get better and make the opening statement that they are the best team in the division. So far, they have looked like that. And I think for Revolver, they were so good offensively yesterday, it's going to be hard to be that good this next day as well. But if anybody can do it, they can. Simon Higgins, who got hurt in the first point yesterday, appeared to tweak his ankle, came back into the game. He's out there and ready to cut on this opening line. And already they're isolating Bo Kittredge on the open side, and it's Hochhalter guarding Kittredge on the opening point.
Revolver with it. Goat won the flip. They elected to fire the opening pole play defense, so this will be Revolver with their first possession and a pick called downfield.
And if you weren't with us yesterday, San Francisco's Ashlyn Joy did not play the first 2 days in this tournament, out with food poisoning. Wasn't sure how much he would contribute yesterday. Turned out he played almost every offensive point as Kasednar launches long.
Looking for Kittredge, but good defense there by Hochhalter. He was with him every step of the way, and a turnover by Revolver. David Hochhalter yesterday, 2 goals, 4 assists. I thought maybe he kind of flew under the radar. We talked so much about Ojo and some of the other guys, but boy, Hochhalter was steady all night long.
Yeah, he was. The first goal of the game, the hammer to Ojo, and then the last goal of the game, Hochhalter to Ojo again.
Andrew Carroll has it, gets it to Hochhalter. Kittredge on him with the mark. Here's a fling downfield with some room toward the end zone, and it's Goat who fires the opening salvo. Andrew Carroll taking that one down, and Carroll scores his double-digit 10th goal of the tournament.
Well, just as I said that San Francisco's offense can't be as good as they were yesterday, it's hard to believe that Toronto's defensive offense can be as fortuitous as it was yesterday when they continue to take advantage of chances against Johnny Bravo. But here, Hochhalter giving Andrew Carroll a chance to make a play. And with the left hand, he goes up to get it at the summit.
Carroll at 5'11", Johnson at 6'2". Crafty play by Andrew Carroll, the Toronto native. 7th year with Goat, just 24 years old, part of the Toronto Rush. Hochhalter gets another assist, so he was so active and pivotal last night, and a good start for Goat as they get the early score. Good look at Carroll. You know, he's a big fan of football, and one of the guys that he admires is Julian Edelman. And just watching him make that last play, that was Julian Edelman-like. Said he respects him because of his size. You know, he's an undersized receiver in the NFL. He's able to adapt. You know, he was an outstanding college quarterback, made the transition to receiver. You see Carroll's stature physically. Pretty good comparison.
Well, he was a tennis player, and then his high school didn't have enough players to field a team, so he had to pick another sport. His choices were rugby and ultimate. Gave ultimate a try, now finishing up his master's degree at Queen's University in Toronto. And interesting here, Toronto will play defense again. Very similar lines here from both teams. Ashlyn Joy, Joel Schlockett, Nick Schlag, Simon Higgins, Bo Kittredge, Cassidy Rasmussen, and Christian Johnson, the cutters. Bo initiates.
Kittredge to the center of the field. Cassidy Rasmussen works it up ahead, gets it to Joy. Joy lobs the pass to Kittredge. Kittredge looking to go forehand with it, being forced toward the backhand, still searching toward the center. He'll swing it back. Joel Schlockett comes to it. Ojo on a tight mark. Kittredge back out to the wing, Joy. Joy, a low throw, right on cue though. He found his man, they tap it back in. Good catch, running grab by Schlockett and some contact, and they'll stop the action. A traveling call, actually, so they'll restart it as Schlockett could not put on the brakes in time. Right in front of the goal, and it will be Simon Higgins, and Revolver ties it up at 1. A little bit of hesitation there, but the score counts. Higgins, as you mentioned, he kind of landed awkwardly early in the game yesterday. Hardly played in the first half, but he came back and contributed late.
Simon Higgins has all the potential in the world. Interesting defensive strategy from Goat these first couple of points, especially putting Hochhalter on Bo. I think they're gonna maybe keep Hochhalter on him. Hochhalter not the fastest guy, and he's basically just trying to force him underneath, just giving him the underneath, forcing Bo to become a thrower. That leaves Jeff Powell, Andrew Carroll, Remy Ojo to guard the other cutters like Rasmussen, Johnson, and Higgins.
Revolver's path into the finals, 5-0 in Pool B, first place there. Their tightest game was actually a 15-14 win against Ironside. They defeated Truck Stop yesterday in the semifinals by 3. Look at her first touch with Sashin Reyna. On the near side, here's Masik Kelly.
Defensive matchups for Revolver. Marcelo Sanchez trying to chase Cam Harris around.
There's a shot downfield, wide open, right in front of the goal line. Hauling it in was Ochterlony.
And you got to step on Eli Kearns.
Ochterlony looking for the reset.
Canners on Lindquist.
Flipped into the end zone. Yearwood an easy grab, and it's 2-1 go. Adrian Yearwood scored 2 in the win against Johnny Bravo, his 8th goal.
And the offensive unit for Goat yesterday was a little bumpy during Bravo's comeback. You know, it was 12-8. Bravo scored 4 in a row, and Goat made some very uncharacteristic mistakes, but you know, give the offense credit. They came back, scored late in the game with Masik Kelly, Yearwood, Lindquist, Harris, McKnight doing most of the heavy lifting. And I think, you know, Goat's at their best when they're not trying to be spectacular. They can be spectacular, but it's almost like false promise. They make one amazing play, they get the confidence to do it again, and that's when Revolver's defense can make its move.
Goat has had the disc twice. They are 2 for 2 on their offensive possessions. They lead it 2-1 on Revolver as here's the pull.
Nathan White taking the field for the first time on offense today for Revolver.
Joy has it. Measured up and marked tightly by Jackie Howe. They get it back to Joy. Joy sends it near side to White. Nathan right back to Joy. Joy being forced backhand. They stay in the center with Kittredge. Christian Johnson continue to attack the center. Here's going to be a pick as Kittredge collided, I believe, with Powell downfield, so that'll stop the action. 2 big bodies colliding there with Bo Kittredge and Jeff Powell.
Yeah, these guys are strong, and that is a good pick.
Got his money's worth on that one. Kittredge dumps it back to Joy.
And Jackie Howe is a lanky handler defender to guard Joy, and Ashland still broke him relatively easily.
Look at that disc movement, 3 swift passes. Schlockett gets it to Kittredge, and he tightrope the front pylon, able to get both feet, 1 foot at least in that corner, and a 2-2 game. 3 crisp passes to set up the score. The all-world player Kittredge.
You know, Revolver has an offensive look right now of we're going to be really patient, because there were a couple instances where Bo could have bolted deep on Hochhalter there. A couple shots that Joy could have taken. They decided to remain chill, and you know, Joy and Schlockett around the goal line. Just don't make mistakes. Don't make too many. Good clear up by Christian Johnson, opening up the space for Kittredge. The Fairbanks phenom just turned 33 on June 23rd.
As this sport continues, you know, to get more publicity, more coverage, you know, you look to certain individuals to kind of carry the torch as far as the ambassador of the sport. Bo Kittredge, one of those guys, you know, if Ultimate's going to continue to grow and develop, he's going to have to take a role in that leadership process.
I mean, the community as a whole considers him to be the best player and has for a while. And, you know, I've talked to a lot of other top players about it, and pretty much universally they say Bo just changes the way you have to play.
Lucas over here.
And he realizes the responsibility he has as an ambassador, as you said.
Lucas Dahlman on the mark for Revolver. Yearwood working in his own end zone here as they're having a tough time getting things opened up downfield. Masick Kelly makes a cut toward the disc, gives him a little bit of room to work. And Revolver really picking up the defense with this line. Dahlman jumps right back onto Yearwood. Yearwood flicks it ahead. You saw the bid attempt, the layout coming up empty. Just missing was Kevin Cox. About the intensity here for Mike Payne's Revolver squad defense.
They're relentless. Downfield defense is becoming what this team is all about. Mike Payne fired up on the near sideline.
2-2 is good for you? All right. Coming in on 2.
You mentioned it, you hit it right on the button earlier. For him, this is an important tournament. This isn't a tune-up. They want to win it. They've captured the crown for 2 straight years. You see the layout save there for Go. Hit the ground running, first leg of the Triple Crown Tour. Reyna working it near side. They go back over to the center. Now they work it left, right back to Yearwood.
Now here's the thing, if you're Go, you're trying to find a matchup where you feel like you have an advantage, and I'm not sure there is one.
Here's a shot, a huck downfield, perfectly led for the strike and score. Andrew Ochterlony.
It took a perfect throw to beat that defense. Cohen on Masick Kelly, strong mark, stepped out of bounds to release this. And just one step on Evangelides. That was all it needed with Masick Kelly's superior throw. That's really gorgeous.
Mentioned Goat, based in Toronto, but they're able to draw from Ottawa, Winnipeg, all around Canada, Edmonton, and Ochterlony, one of those Ottawa guys on the roster. 3-2 Goat. And like we saw last night, if you're Toronto, this is very similar to how they started with Johnny Bravo. Very efficient on the offensive end.
Only 1 turnover in the first 5 points of the game. That was on the opening possession when Revolver took a shot deep with Kassednar seeking Kittredge too far on the throw.
Goat 3-2 in pool play. They lost to Temper and this Revolver team. They beat Ironside to clinch the spot as the 4 seed in the semifinals. Beat Ironside 17-16, and then the semifinal victory against Johnny Bravo last night. Ashton Joy on the mark from Jackie Howe.
Interesting, no Bo Kittredge on the field for this offensive point.
Oh, they missed Cassidy Rasmussen. He had some room. Now they're going to take a shot with Simon Higgins, and he will elevate and go up for the score.
Some guys just move on the field like they were meant to play ultimate. I think Higgins is one of them. I mean, just kind of an effortless rise.
Makes it look so easy.
A tough matchup for Jeff Powell. Jeff is tough and strong, but Higgins has the size advantage and I think a quickness advantage too on Bomber Powell.
Higgins, one of the top rookies last year, had a big season with San Jose and the Spiders, led the team in goals and completion percentage on the year. Started his ultimate career back in 2007. He was part of 4 Alameda State titles in California. Spent a couple of years with the Polar Bears and was captain at Las Positas.
And if Kittredge isn't a good older ambassador for the sport, Higgins is a great youthful ambassador for the sport. He works with kids on an everyday basis, runs after-school programs in Alameda near Oakland.
Here's a huck downfield. Goat trying to counter. And it's led perfectly into the end zone for the score.
Yeah, blue, yeah, blue.
Ochterlony dropped the dime, a full field flick to Jeff Lindquist. And that was a gorgeous shot from Ochterlony. The veteran. Now, Ochterlony is not the guy I would think that would be launching these 65-yard flicks in this type of game, but clearly he's got the throw. 3 out of 4 GOAT scores have come on Hucks. Andrew Hagan got burned that time for Revolver.
No Mark Lloyd this year. We talked about it with the torn ACL, the 2-time Ultimate Canadian Player of the Year. No Derek Alexander for this weekend. No Carl Loeso as well for this squad. And yet this team has found a way to win. Guys like Ochterlony, Lundqvist, good players stepping up. And GOAT with the 4-3 advantage in this first half.
Toronto up a break.
Like a poaching style of D there being delivered by GOAT. And they break into a man. Here are the instructions coming from the Revolver sideline as they figure out a way to attack the defense, really trying to deny the disc. They're forced to dump it back to Nick Schlag. Schlag at the mark from Greg Ellis.
Yeah, Revolver's stack was too deep down the field with the poaching defense from GOAT and the handler core. Some guys had to get closer like Schlockett did right here.
Schlockett finds a seam with Kittredge. They have Simon Higgins getting in position downfield. He releases a backhand to Kittredge. That's textbook. Beautiful execution, waiting to set up their approach, and then the star power delivered as Kittredge finds the end zone for the second time.
Yeah, that zip flick, a laser from Schlockett, was what Revolver needed to find an opening. And once that throw went off, it was just tic-tac-toe down the field. And Schlockett came from the stack into the handler core, had no mark on him, so really had a great view to survey the field. You know, that's a situation. Higgins the assist, Kittredge the goal. Who cares? Joel Schlockett had the finest throw at that point. And credit Joy and Schlag for their patience and not forcing something deep early in the point when nothing was there. They got the resets they needed to find the opening, wear down the defense just enough.
For Toronto and San Francisco this first half. The pole by Revolver.
Let him go, Kev.
Good adjustment made by Yearwood as he snares it with the right hand. Yearwood picked up by Dahlman.
That was an interesting junky defense there. Went straight up flat mark with 2 guys underneath. That's a very tough hammer out of bounds.
Unable to catch it was Massick Kelly inbounds, but let's go back to that throw and the difficulty level there on the hammer toss.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about with GOAT. I mean, they have a propensity to try to be spectacular sometimes. There's just not a need for that at that stage of the point. I mean, that's such a difficult completion, even on a day with minimal wind. Looking for Dahlman.
Dahlman running against Yearwood, and Dahlman hauls it in 6 yards in front of the end zone. Gives it back to a trailing Evangelides. Evangelides right back to Lucas Dahlman. Dahlman 5 yards away, gets it ahead to Leahy. Leahy in some trouble, and snatching it away from a defender was Jeffrey. Looked like that. Just maybe Cam Harris might come away with the D there, and we have a call.
I'm not sure how Leahy got that backhand around past Cam Harris on the mark.
Harris trying to force forehand. See the big pivot rotation as they swing it far side. Dahlman makes the catch. Dahlman with a bluff. Trying to get Yearwood to leave his feet a little bit, open up a room, but nothing there. Good red zone defense by Goat. Dahlman, a soft toss. There's some room to work and a score for Revolver.
Really savvy move by Lucas Dahlman. He had the disc on the near sideline after the big swing. He didn't rush anything downfield, and when he realized he had nothing, he had Leahy wide open. This is early. Leahy was wide open, and after Dahlman released the throw, he didn't stop. He slashed across the field, and that opened up the space on this side. If Dahlman had stayed put, then Leahy's looking at all kinds of traffic, with Goat doing a good job on the flick side, the open side, and on the break side, Dahlman and his defender clogging that lane. Lucas making that cut across the field, very wise.
Dahlman gets the helper for Cohen. It's his third goal. Started playing at Camp Newman Summer Camp. Gregory Cohen, we're talking, in Santa Rosa before trying out for the Santa Cruz Slugs. Also had some success with San Diego Street Gang. Let's go back to this rotation you were mentioning. Keep an eye on number 35 with Dahlman.
Yeah, just the movement after his swing to Leahy. And there's Greg Cohen. Made his first Nationals appearance last year. Now, Greg Cohen comes from a baseball background. He's a righty in the ultimate field. He was a left-handed pitcher.
Is that right?
And had some D1 baseball scholarship offers. But after playing baseball for his entire life, kind of got burnt out and wanted to try something different. I almost didn't believe him at first when he told me he was a left-handed pitcher.
Goat with a chance, a strike toward the end zone, and Toronto counters right back. Andrew Carroll gets his second goal. Tell you what, when these offenses are clicking, it can be a high-flying game with a lot of hucks. And again, Goat using the deep ball to find the pot of gold here. Yearwood getting the disc in position as they took what Revolver gave them, and they sent a streaking Carroll down the center of the field.
Another fine throw from Thompson McKnight. And Carroll doesn't have the look of a deep threat, but he's hard to guard because you can't stay with him. He's super quick. Canner didn't get a quick mark there on McKnight, which allowed Thompson to really relax into the easy throw. So we are back on serve. Only 2 turnovers in the first 10 points. Casednar's deep shot intended for Kittredge in the first throw, and the full field hammer looking for Kelly. Caught it, but he was out of bounds. 2 turnovers in 10 points.
Not too bad a start. That's what you expect from a championship game, and that's what we have here. Schlockett, Higgins, Rasmussen. This is Rasmussen with it to Kittredge. They're going to send flanking downfield White. Kittredge trying to give White a shot, and a perfectly timed play on the D by Powell. Timed his jump beautifully.
Jeff Bomber Powell. This is the play of the game so far. Wasn't a bad throw from Kittredge at all. I like the matchup sending White. But Powell made up the gap, laid out perfectly, and got the fingertip on the disc first. He did it without fouling, too.
Howe with it, chance for a possible break for Goat.
And that's the first great D of the game, the only D we've seen so far.
We saw the D by Powell last night against Johnny Bravo early in the game, and that really sparked Goat as they jumped out to that early lead.
Fun matchup with Kittredge guarding Ojo downfield.
A pick will be called, and just as you mentioned that, it was Ojo who was cutting across laterally, and Kittredge running into one of the Goat players. Remy Ojo on the left, Bo Kittredge in the blue on the right for Revolver. Powell comes back to it. He's picked up on the mark by Higgins.
Good dump defense from Nathan White, but Andrew Carroll, well aware, made himself free with Johnson defending.
And a drop and a unforced turnover by Goat. Gives it right back. Hochhalter might have been taking a peek downfield at his options before catching the disc there.
I think the fact that I said 2 turnovers and 10 points had anything to do with the fact that we've had 2 turnovers on this point?
Our truck says absolutely. Here's Schlockett working with it. Schlockett gets it to Rasmussen. Back over to Schlag. And they're going to reset the attack. Try to get something opened up. They're going to send Kittredge deep. There's the lead. Kittredge has all sorts of room if it stays in bounds, trying to keep that foot in, but he runs out of room, and a misfire as Kittredge was all by himself breaking clear.
Well, he was aware of his surroundings. I mean, his best chance might have been a greatest, but there was nobody nearby in the end zone, and he thought he had a chance to snag it.
Timeout taken here, so we will take a break at 5-5. Toronto and San Francisco in this first half. And Evan, coming into this game, you know, we talked about last year, we talked about how these two teams played and maybe what was one of the most talked about games of 2014. Excited to kick off a new season. Goat and Revolver. What's the biggest difference that you've seen, you know, from this Goat team this year compared to last year? And I know that's a question because you're not looking at the same team that we watched last year, but on the field, as far as strategically, are you seeing the same philosophy being implemented by Coach Hasty?
Yeah, I think the philosophy hasn't changed a whole lot, but I do think the confidence level has changed. You know, you beat Revolver in the quarterfinals of Club Nationals, and that is a very loud statement that you guys are welcome in the top tier. Because 2 years ago, they showed up to Club Nationals as one of the favorites, the number 2 overall seed, and they stumbled. And they didn't even make it to the quarterfinals. They lost in the pre-quarters, and it wasn't a very close game, and it was just a very disappointing run for the Herd. Last year, lesser expectations. They performed better. Their young players have really made a difference, too. You know, Masik Kelly's taken a huge step forward. Ojo, who started playing Ultimate a couple years ago. Andrew Carroll has become just an unbelievable defender. He's always been good, but now becoming more well-known.
Trying to get Ojo involved in the offense. 50-50. It's up, and it's knocked away. A play by Schlockett there, but a foul will be called. Ojo saying he was clipped going up. Does not look like Schlockett agrees, so the two will come together and discuss.
And watching this live, I thought it was great D from Schlockett.
Yep, we got it. We're all good.
Okay, so it calls a foul coming to me. That was not a foul. Revolver disc. So you're going to touch the
check,
disc
freeze,
or the line?
please, freeze!
Emphatic
Freeze!
ruling from Stephen Hubbard.
20!
Yeah, great job by Schlockett that time, using the position. And, you know, you could make an argument that Ojo fouled Schlockett. I don't think he did, but Schlockett had the position. Ojo initiated the contact, and Schlockett just held his ground. Maybe gave a little bit of a shoulder back, but the jockeying for position, good, fair, hard ultimate.
Revolver a chance for the break. Downfield, they're looking for Higgins, battling Powell, and it's Higgins who comes down with it. Simon Higgins showing his playmaking ability in this first half.
I mean, what more can we say about Simon Higgins that hasn't already been said? You know, Jeff Powell was smelling another D. He got one on Nathan White. White's a really good player, but he's not Simon Higgins, who timed it perfectly, went to the summit for the score.
Beautiful assist from Christian Johnson on the backhand.
Very subtle little adjustment that he made in pursuit of that disc. Just a very slight angle change. A really mature decision for a very young player. Now what's interesting, in the pool play game between these two teams, Revolver led 6-5. and then closed the game on a 9-3 run to win it 15-8. So similar start to the pool play game here in the finals.
Jeffries with the pull for Revolver, 6-5. San Francisco, obviously Toronto hoping for a different course to take compared to that pool play matchup earlier in the week. Yearwood breaks down the center, coming back toward the disc is Andrew Ochterlony. They get it over to Reyna. Reyna doesn't have it long. Hammer toss back into the center. Massick Kelly spotting downfield, looking for Lundqvist. He'll make the catch. Guarded tightly by Cox. And they're going to say a score there despite the contact. A score for Thompson McKnight.
Yeah, sometimes when something a little fishy happens, there's no call on the field. It's an obvious score, but none of the observers want to rule that it's a score. I think the observers got to be a little more decisive there. They're all just kind of staring at each other, afraid of calling it a goal, but it was a clear goal. Nice left-handed snag by Lundqvist. Good aggressive mark from Cox, but just to the open side. I mean, why hesitate on that play? Lundqvist very confident handling the disc. And McKnight much more of a passer than a receiver for this GOAT team, but smart cut from the handler core.
And these were two guys in looking at McKnight and Lundqvist that you kind of singled out off air when we were talking about GOAT's chances of trying to capture this championship. You thought those two had to be on their A game for this to happen.
Thompson McKnight is one of the elite throwers in the world, and you know, sometimes he'll play a very conservative game, sometimes he'll take some chances, and against Revolver I think you do have to lean toward the slightly more conservative side. There's a rare drop from Christian Johnson.
So back on the offensive comes GOAT. 6-6 in this first half.
This would be a huge break right here.
Backhand flip into the end zone for the score. I believe that will be awarded. Again, the hesitation there, but making the catch for GOAT was Powell. And they take advantage. One pass, they get the point on the unforced turnover by Revolver.
Well, just underneath Johnson, a little too casual. And then not a great defensive effort here from Revolver in transition. Powell beat Ashland Joy really easily to the break side. And Hochhalter just a very quick release. That was too easy. And Joy didn't respect the fact that Hochhalter could break Bo. He was waiting for Powell to come back to the open side, thinking that he'd have a step on him there, but you know, Hochhalter has proven over and over again this weekend that he's got that throw. Especially with the way that Bo was marking him, not a very active mark. That's an important break. Even if Revolver's offense scores here, Toronto's offense will have a chance to take half. Both teams have done well with the disc in the red zone so far in the game.
Strong deep pull by GOAT. Revolver goes to work. Cassidy Rasmussen up ahead to Kittredge. Right back to Rasmussen. Takes a quick glance up ahead. Simon Higgins going down the near sideline. Higgins trying to create some room. He's being guarded by Hochhalter. Back to the disc. This is Kittredge with it. Forced to dump it back. Tight mark by Howe, and now with some room to work, Nathan White makes the catch. Ojo quickly collapses on him.
Oh, Kittredge just sent a perfect screen on Nima Mostagimi as Chris Kasednar broke across the field. Man, he's like Draymond Green out there setting these picks.
And with his size, when he sets a pick, it's pretty noticeable. Joy tosses the backhand with that stall count on, and Kittredge able to take it in for the score. Hochhalter looked like he mistimed his jump there, and Kittredge with an easy point for Revolver.
You know, this is not what Revolver is looking for, but it says a lot about the cohesiveness and the angle with which Ashlyn Joy threw that disc. You know, this is a desperation buzzer beater type throw, but he puts the outside in on it, knowing exactly where Bo Kittredge is in the field.
Yeah,
and Bo, his former roommate, recognized it immediately, took off, and it looked like a design play, even though it was a desperation throw.
I take that back with Hochhalter. He did not mistime his jump. That was just a perfect strike from Joy. On the backhand, downfield to his former roommate Kittredge, and Ashlyn Joy, after a rough couple of days in Ohio, Thursday and Friday, did not suit up. Had a bout with food poisoning. Just anybody who's been through that knows how miserable that can be. Hardly had any food in him yesterday over the past couple of days. Gutted it out, really contributed, which kind of surprised us how he was able to jump right back in. And here he gets the assist to knot it up at 7 apiece.
Pull goes out of bounds. Toronto will initiate from the brick mark, and we'll see how the offense aligns. Looks like McKnight, the center handler, with Reyna and Lindquist flanking him. Masick, Kelly, Harris, Ochterlony, and Yearwood downfield.
Toronto trying to go into the break with the lead here. If they can get a point, they'll accomplish that. Thomas McKnight across the way to Yearwood. McKnight has it. Seven here in the first half. Good defense downfield by Revolver. Coming to it is Lindquist.
Ochterlony had a bunch of steps on Kearns, but they didn't have an angle to release the throw. From the sidelines, Revolver applauding the defensive effort. The 7-man line. Jordan Marcy chasing around Sash and Reyna. Patrick Bayless on Adrian Yearwood. Sam Canner running around against Thompson McKnight.
Yearwood up ahead to Masick Kelly. Over the top toss. Break that tight Revolver D for a moment. Dahlman though on the mark for Revolver. And I believe a timeout taken by Goat. You can just see the emotion.
A timeout was called by Goat and Lindquist. A furious reaction to the downfield movement.
Hear the emotion along the Revolver side. They were all fired up the way they were playing defense, and no choice but to use the timeout for Lindquist.
Might have been frustrated by a fast count. Might have been what the observer was talking about there with Lucas Dahlman. Good time for a timeout call, though. You know, you have it, you might as well use it.
Because probably there'll be some violation downfield.
So we'll see what the Goat offense comes up with here. Very important point to try to take it to half. Meanwhile, Christian Johnson, Nathan White, Simon Higgins are just dancing outside of the Revolver defensive huddle.
In case you're just joining us, 2 champions have already been crowned today. In the mixed division, it was Ellipsis from Melbourne, Australia, capturing their first U.S. Open title. Fury from San Francisco captures the women's crown after winning Universe Point over Seattle Riot. Well, the second team from San Francisco capture the men's division. 7-7, that's the remaining question here as Revolver in a battle with Goat.
Stall count was high, and Yearwood gets the dump.
Yearwood's pass too tall, and it's taken away. With the pick, Russell Wynn. Chance now for Revolver to get the break at halftime. Eli Kearns comes back toward the center to Bayless. And Bayless able to get it safely to Kearns. Now Dahlman puts it down toward the end zone, running underneath it. Canner makes the layout. Did he get a foot in? He did for the score to give Revolver the 1-point lead at the intermission. How about that grab by Sam Canner?
He's a great veteran, college champ at Carleton, club champ with San Francisco, the Amherst, Massachusetts native, Tina Booth product. Gets the job done. One of San Francisco's most intense defenders throws to another. Dahlman to Canner. He had some room to roam near the back of the end zone. It's the blue line, not that first red line. Well done. Revolver 2 for 2 on break chances in that half. Goat 2 for 4. Revolver's offense has been a little shaky, and Goat has not been able to capitalize, but we are on serve. Toronto will receive the pull to start the second half. So this is a virtual tie. With that said, Toronto had the disc, looking to finish the half with a break and could not get it done as Yearwood's throw sailed over Kelly.
8-7 San Francisco with the lead on Goat. Here at the intermission, let's bring in Scott Hasty, the coach with Goat. And Coach, you're going to get the disc to start the second half. What adjustments do you feel you need to make, if any, to push on for this championship here today?
Yeah, I think we just go back to the mantra that's got us here about from midway through the tournament, is throw to the first open guy. And we're just looking off that first one. There's a lot of pressure. This is a great team, great defense, so there's going to be pressure, but we're just missing that first one. We're getting a little high in the stall count and throwing some 50-50 stuff up.
Shooter, as far as your defense goes, what's your key against their incredible cutters?
Right, I think we're just, you saw we tried to change things up a little bit, so it wasn't just always it was just a straight man. Slowed them down quite a bit, and just had three chances at the disc and didn't get them. So we'll make sure they don't see the same look each time.
Is the key to stay angry just like yesterday?
What? Oh yeah, we're definitely doing that. The second half is definitely angry.
Coach, good luck in the second half.
Cheers, you guys are great. Thanks.
Scott Hasty with Goat. His team certainly looking great this week. 8-7, Revolver the 1-point lead here at the intermission. We'll be back with more from Westchester. Revolver out to an 8-7 lead here at the intermission. Welcome back to Westchester, the finals of the 2015 U.S. Open Ultimate Championship. Revolver head coach Mike Payne joins us, his squad looking for their third consecutive U.S. Open title. And Coach, first half in the books, you get the late score to take the lead. Your thoughts after a half of action?
Well, I wish it weren't quite as close, but Goat is a very good team, and to be honest, it took us a while to figure out what they're doing on offense, and also we've had some difficulties with our offense. So I'm actually pretty happy with where we're at, because I think we've learned during the first half, and we're ready to implement what we've learned in the second half. I think we'll have a good second half.
Mike, what did you learn in the first half?
Well, on our offense, I think we're not creating enough space. The thing about ultimate offense is it's not about throwing, it's not about catching, it's actually about creating as big a space as possible for people to cut into to make throws easy. And we haven't done a very good job of creating space that's 20-yard wide. It's been more like 5 yards wide, so we can do better on that. And then on defense, we've done a poor job in terms of forcing them to the outside. And making them run a little bit more. So we're going to be having flatter marks and trying to make them throw as many passes as possible and use our endurance to overcome them. I
know you're a big Joel Schlockett fan. He had a good throw to break through their junky defense to free up everybody for a point. Also the good D on Ojo going deep. How would you characterize what he brings to the team, what his personality is like?
Joel is the heart and soul of Revolver. He is humble. He does all the work that he needs to away from practice and away from tournaments, and he shows up and he does his job. And frankly, he does it in a way where people don't notice him until he makes big plays. But when he makes big plays, they're the types of plays that everyone goes, wow. So we depend on him in times of need, and he always comes through.
Coach, good luck in the second half.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike Payne with Revolver, San Francisco unit. on top, 8-7. We'll have highlights and some of the numbers from the first half when we come back. San Francisco out in front of Toronto, 8-7. Back with you from Westchester alongside Evan Lepler, Sean Kinney here in the finale of what has been a busy week of Ultimate. And you go back to the first half, Evan, and this Toronto GOAT team just continues to impress all week, and for the second straight day, another strong start. Andrew Carroll getting the festivities started.
Yeah, you know, Hochhalter and Carroll were not stars coming into this weekend, but they both played really well in big games. This will help them become more well-known, and they'll be marked targets in the future. For Revolver, Schlockett around the goal line, super solid. Kittredge always gets open in an area as well. Here's Jeff Lindquist wearing Mark Lloyd's jersey, swinging the disc to Thompson McKnight. Good patience on this possession from GOAT. And when GOAT has been patient, it has been at its best. Finally, Massett Kelly had a lane, a gorgeous throw to Ochterlony. Here's Ashlyn Joy launching for Simon Higgins. Been waiting all tournament long for Simon Higgins to make a mistake. It hasn't happened yet as he continues to make one spectacular play after another. This bomb from Ochterlony was Ashlyn Joy-esque in terms of its precision and majestic flight. And here the defensive line, Lucas Dahlman, very impactful. He makes the cut after the dump to Leahy, and that freed up the break side lane for Greg Cohen. Dahlman would pick up another assist later to Sam Canner. This was a Christian Johnson deep shot, and again, Powell had the D earlier on Nathan White, but not this time on Higgins. Lindquist, a tough left-handed grab against Kevin Cox. His patience around the goal line would be paid off when McKnight made the strike cut up line. And here, stall count. Joy didn't have anywhere to go, so he just launches, wisely angling the disc to Kittredge's side of the field, and he got the job done. And then the final point of the half, after a D, Dahlman to Canner. The back of the end zone for the score to give Revolver an 8-7 lead. But again, we're on serve. GOAT will receive to start the second half.
The star power getting it done for San Francisco. Both Kittredge and Higgins with 3 goals apiece. You see the assists, Schlockett, Joy, Dahlman each with 2 for GOAT. Carroll leading the charge with a couple of goals. Lindquist and Hochhalter with a couple of assists each. Second half coming up. Who will be crowned this year's champion of the U.S. Open? GOAT and Revolver. The opening poll next. 8-7 Revolver out in front of GOAT as we get set to start the second half. It will be GOAT receiving the poll, though, so a chance for them to poll even in this second half as we focus on the keys. Let's start with Revolver. What do they need to do to finish this off and pick up their 3rd consecutive championship?
Well, they want to win the game with their defense. That has been the focus all tournament long. Relentless intensity on D. Playing together as a team. That's what their focus will be. And for GOAT, I really think their key is their offense. They need to take care of the disc. They need to take the right chances, not the reckless chances.
Second half underway. GOAT receiving the pole. Looking for their first championship of this tournament. Yearwood, one of the starters out there, starts it up ahead to Ochterlony. Deep huck downfield. Has a man wide open and into the end zone for the score. Perfect throw. Execution flawless out of the gates for Scott Hastie's GOAT.
Ochterlony again. This is a beauty. Great angle to the throw, perfect distance, right amount of velocity, and Harris, a very reliable target. Ochterlony moved to Ottawa 5 years ago after living in Toronto for a long time. He started playing in 1996 at McMaster University. He's 6'3", 37 years old. Harris, just a young pup compared to Ochterlony. Works in federal public service and Aboriginal legal issues in the Canadian capital of Ottawa.
His second helper today has tied this up, so a quick strike for GOAT.
And one day we'll have yardage for his assists. I mean, those are not 5-10 yard assists. They've each been 65 60 yards in the air. Look at Andrew Carroll hustle down the field. He'll come into your screen first in a white jersey.
Joy setting up the troops in place. Haven't heard a lot from Chris Kasednar, but he makes the catch.
Greg Ellis really got down there too for Goat.
Little throw. Kittredge comes back to it. Goes back to the center. Rasmussen looking for that dump. Goes to the far side to Joy. Joy right back to the center to Kasednar. Now Kittredge looks. Takes it to the right side. You see the approach and the score for Revolver. Joel Schlockett, final piece of that puzzle as they set up that strong side, that far wing perfectly with their spacing.
Yeah, nice job by Schlockett. Cutting downfield, like with eyes in the back of his head. You know, Schlockett thought about the break side for Bo, saw him dish it off to Christian, immediately back to the open side with no hesitation. That's the kind of flow and cohesiveness that elite teams show. You know, if Schlockett hesitates there, then the defender recovers. And then there's clogging on that open side of the field, and they need a look dump. But certainly, the Toronto defense was respecting the break cut from Schlockett. Consequently, wide open in the open side.
Schlockett, part of UC Berkeley at one time. His big moment in college, he caught the game-winning huck in 2009 to qualify for the College Nationals, one of his top memories. 28-year-old. San Diego, California. San Francisco holds serve here, a 9-8 lead for Revolver.
Now this is, you know, the time of the game where Revolver's defense can make a difference. Nice grab by Cam Harris. You know, the good teams continuously make tough catches look easy.
Masick Kelly over to Yearwood. See the mark jumping around. Yearwood sends it over to the far sideline. Count on, backdoor cut. Yearwood able to shake free.
It's hard to state how hard of a throw that was from Harris to Yearwood. That rising backhand with Canner so close to Yearwood as a handler defender. Scuber.
How about that? Toward the end zone for Masick Kelly. What a throw there by Lindquist to get the assist.
Yeah, it looks like Derek Alexander. Yesterday he was wearing Alexander's jersey and joked that he would throw some wild Scubers. Today wearing Mark Lloyd. Mark has his throw in his arsenal too. With two absent GOAT stars with some impressive teammates to fill in for the absent great players. Nice throw.
Mentioned the firepower missing for GOAT with Lloyd out, unfortunately, with the knee injury, and then no Derek Alexander this weekend. Those two really were a connection last season for GOAT offensively. Consistency each and every day out.
No Jonathan Martin, no Toli Vasiliev, no Trevor Henry, no Carl Loiseau. A couple other young players in the Toronto scene that could not make the trip, getting ready for U23s. Still have Masick Kelly. Offensive line here for Revolver. Schlockett, Schlog, Joy, Kittredge, Higgins, Johnson, and Rasmussen.
Joy comes over to Rasmussen. Back to Joy in the center, wanted to go right. Still has that opportunity if he wants it. Now he dumps it underneath on a crossing pattern. Schlog thought about letting her go with the backhand. Instead, they go modestly to Rasmussen in the center. He'll heave the huck down field. Kittredge times it beautifully. Perfect strike over Hochhalter. Kittredge with the score, and San Francisco and the offenses in the second half looking pretty good.
Yeah, beautiful throw. Cassidy let Kittredge go up and make the play, and Hochhalter did about all he could. It's not a good matchup for him. He went up early. That was his only chance. Kittredge timed it well. You know, he doesn't have the same lift that he did, say, 10 years ago. He doesn't typically go about the business of skying over people. I mean, for a jump ball, I think you'd take Simon Higgins or Greg Cohen or Christian Johnson, or even maybe Cassidy might have better hops at this stage of Bo's career. But in terms of the straight line speed and the acceleration, that is where Bo Kittredge separates himself from his peers. And there was a time when he was as good of a leaper as anybody, as Colorado Mama Bird jumping over a guy video portray. That was college regionals, I think 2005. Second half so far, Sean, 4 points, no turnovers either way.
Offenses have been perfect. Masick Kelly goes up in the crowd to keep it alive. Yearwood. McKnight. McKnight swings it to Masick Kelly. You heard Scott Hasty mention take the first opening. Don't wait and hold. That was one of the adjustments Goat wanted to make in this second half.
Sanchez was inches away from getting a fingertip on that swing.
The poaching defense by Revolver. They throw over the top of it. Yearwood in position maybe to inflict some damage.
Lindquist could have forced one there to Cam Harris, but Greg Cohen was lingering as the deep wisely took his time. Now he has Reyna wide open. Does he see him?
McKnight, the count on, finally gets rid of it. Ochterlony.
Andrew Hagan backed up as the far side wing to cover Reyna, who was just wide open in the end zone for a while.
Lindquist forced to dump it back to McKnight. Yearwood guarded tightly on the mark by Nathan White.
If you're Goat, don't be a hero here. Keep swinging the disc, move it around, tire out these Revolver Cup defenders.
McKnight still searching. And we have a stoppage.
Fast count was called by McKnight. So the stall count will come back in on 0.
Thompson McKnight floats it up ahead. Trelawney makes the grab. That Cup defense sandwiching him in all corners.
He could call a double team.
He lobs it to the end zone, and at the last second he spots Reyna for the score. A lot of blue around Ochterlony that time when he let her go.
Well, it was the scuba over the top to Ochterlony that found the opening, and then back-to-back scubers to complete this point. Now Ochterlony playing Pro Ultimate now, where the double team is legal. In Club, it is not. So by rule, there can't be 2 defenders within 10 feet of the disc. But self-officiated game, it's up to Ochterlony to make that call. And he hits Sachin Reyna, number 61. He's always worn number 16 his entire life, but Phil Watanabe, who's more of a veteran than Reyna, wears number 16. So that's why I chose 61. I said, maybe you'll get 16 when Phil retires. And he's like, Phil's never, ever going to retire. He's still in too good a shape, even though he hasn't played much today for Goat.
Watanabe, the age of 43, his 11th year, discovered Ultimate kind of through a painful route. He suffered a real severe snowboarding accident where he broke both his collarbones. That was back in 2000, so he gave up the snowboard for the disc. 10-10 here in the second half. Revolver back on the offensive. Higgins comes back to the disc. Look at the back end. He was trying to maybe go Christian Johnson's direction. Instead, he's going to give Kittredge a shot at it. Working on how, and Kittredge starting to make an impact as he hauls it in. Bo Kittredge here in the finals in the second half, 2 in a row.
I mean, here's an example of vintage Bo acceleration. Jackie Howe is one of the faster guys on Goat defense. Ojo called for the switch, and Howe had no chance. Kittredge went up to get it. Simon Higgins usually doing the downfield damage, but he's got those throws too. You know, Ojo might have been a little too aggressive on Bo underneath. I think Goat needs to accept the fact that Bo can get the disc when he wants underneath, because if you guard him too much, you know, Howe is left out to dry here. Still no turnovers in the second half, Sean. We had 2 turnovers in the first 10 points of the first half and tied 5-5. That point had a bunch of turnovers. Teams made some mistakes down the stretch. Revolver got a break to hold heading into half when Dahlman hit Canner. On serve, but Toronto's going to need a break once to win.
Mentioned early in the season, Evan, what's your approach as far as how this tournament as a whole has been played, watching these teams compete? We were talking about the number of tight games that we've been entertained with, but how about the skill set? Do you feel maybe the quality a little bit better than in previous years at this U.S. Open?
I think the quality's been better. I think teams are taking it more seriously. I think the intensity ratcheted up as the tournament went on. You know, every day has been more intense. Thursday maybe not as much as Friday, and so forth. And I think, you know, some teams are taking it a little more seriously than others, and it shows in terms of results. You know, I don't think teams are afraid to lose at this tournament. A bunch of really good coaches said that, you know, this is a tournament where I'm, you know, okay taking a loss. Obviously, you take the field, you want to win, but you're trying to develop toward the fall. If you peak now, if this is the best tournament you play all year, that's not good news for where you want to be.
Okay, we're set. In for
The other thing about the tournament this year is it was by far the best performance ever from the international teams.
Morena taking a shot downfield, not a good idea. Russell Wynn with the D for Revolver, and there's the first turnover in the second half. Let's see if Revolver can capitalize and get the break.
Talked a lot yesterday about the skill that Revolver's D-line has offensively with Canner, Jeffrey, Bayless, Marcy, Wynn, Cohen, and Evangelides.
Yeah, you mentioned Cox or Quella.
They're not on the field right now,
yeah.
But you're absolutely
so
right.
So deep.
Yeah, Lucas Dahlman currently on the sidelines. Taylor Leahy currently on the sidelines. Marcelo Sanchez on the sidelines. Yo Kawaoka, the veteran captain, can still ball.
Patrick Bayless looking, tosses toward the end zone, couple of deflections, and 2 Revolvers share it for the score.
Holy cow. Evangelides ripping it away from Russell Wynn, denying him the bookends, but a huge break for Revolver. Stall count rising off the fingertips of Jeffrey, raising his arms like he meant to do it.
Evangelides says, give me that thing. Ripping it away.
I mean, again, Bayless wasn't throwing to anyone in particular here. He was just trying to throw something that would float over the Goat defenders, but wouldn't float too long where they could really react to it. And that was a quick strike scuba. And I guess we officially have given the goal to Evangelides for his aggressive strip of Russell Wynn.
Gotta tell Wynn to hang on to that puppy a little bit longer. Don't be so nice. Hang on to that. You get credit for the goal. Bayless with the assist. Third assist of the tournament for Bayless. All smiles for Revolver. They get the game's first break in this second half.
Yeah, very important. Hurts Toronto Goat there. The D from Russell Wynn on the deep shot certainly wasn't a sure thing when Toronto let it fly.
Here comes the pull from Kearns. Massac Kelly comes back to it. Critical possession for Goat. Downfield lobbing, looking for Lindquist. And was he inbounds? No, the observer says he landed out of bounds, so back-to-back turnovers for Goat.
Perhaps a little fatigue setting in. That's a very tough throw to complete, especially that close to the sideline, acting like an 8th Revolver defender.
They swing it over to Dolman. Sanchez, the deepest man right now, but he's going to accelerate back toward Dolman. Then Dolman takes off downfield. Sanchez was looking for him. Instead, settles back on Leahy. Leahy with all sorts of room as Goat communicates and gets their defense lined up. Now Yearwood on the tight mark. Get it over to Sanchez, far side. This could be a crippling blow if Revolver can capitalize and score, which they do. Kawaoka hauls it in. You mentioned the veteran here for Revolver getting his first goal of the game, and back-to-back points for San Francisco as they inch closer to another title.
Yep, Taylor Leahy, very competent with the disc. You know, Leahy was the captain at UC Davis for Ashland Joy's first couple of years there. And Ashland Joy, who's now one of the elite throwers in the world, really talks about how Leahy is one of his great mentors, teaching him how to work hard the right way. And there's Kawaoka still going strong with some of the best hair in the sport. He spent a lot of time in the lead up to the season with Mike Payne. Lucas Dahlman has been very involved as well, discussing new strategies, reshaping the Revolver defense. Mike Payne said yesterday that in the past he felt they just relied on their athleticism and they usually won with it. Now they're trying to get a little more tricky.
And there really wasn't that much of a roster turnover for Revolver from last year to this season. Just 3 players missing off last year's unit with Martin, Evan, and Josh. But you know, that what a nice luxury to have coming back with that cohesiveness, and I don't think it's a coincidence to see them playing so well this early in the season due to that fact.
And the guys they lost are good players. I mean, Martin Cochran has a great history. Evan Boucher, super solid, played a lot of offensive points for Revolver, but you know, the 3 guys that they replaced him with, Cox, Quella, and Christian Johnson, are all fantastic. This is the force from Sash and Reyna. You know, looking for Massac Kelly, but Russell Wynn just said, that's mine. That led to the Bayless Scuba off the hands of 3 different Revolver receivers for the score.
Mentioned this is the first leg of the Triple Crown Tour. The Pro Flight finale is next up. Your thoughts as teams move on from Westchester to the next round as they get set to continue in their pursuit, everything leading up to nationals.
You know, some teams at this level will be involved with the Colorado Cup, the Pro Elite Challenge, the first weekend of August, and then a few weeks after that, the Pro Flight finale. And that's gotten to be a bigger event too, because you know, it's late in the season. It's really the big tune-up for nationals. For the teams that have hopes of winning a national title, regionals are usually not a serious threat. Now for GOAT, there's an exception, because GOAT has to deal with both Boston Ironside and New York Pony, not to mention a few other up-and-coming teams, Garuda, Dark and Light in New England. But for the other top teams, Pro Flight finale is really the final chance to tinker and prove yourselves, to gain that mental edge going into nationals.
Biggest hole of the afternoon for GOAT, down 3. Who will step up? Powell, Massac Kelly. Back to Yearwood. Good layout there by Reyna to save possession. He's looking for Yearwood. He's being chased by Canner. Across the way they go to McKnight. Back and forth, left and right. Ochterlony. Over the top throw, caught near midfield. This breaks a little bit of it, but not much. Look at Revolver react and get back defensively.
Now, this is a great example of Revolver's defense playing solid and just making Goat work. You know, this point in the game, down by 3, you want to get it all back so quick. Will Goat have the patience to close this point out with a score? Nope.
Yearwood desperate. He knew that clock was on. Throws it away. Home run ball downfield. Cohen dives with the layout. And it's a score for Revolver. Acrobatic Gregory Cohen holds it in. Greeted by Lucas Dahlman and the rest of his teammates on that terrific defensive sequence. Defense setting up the offense there for Revolver.
You could see Jeffrey lurking, ripping it away from McKnight. Cohen took off. And this grab a SportsCenter Top 10 nominee, Cohen, with some horizontal happiness for San Francisco Revolver. No hesitation from Jeffrey, who's an excellent D-line handler. And you can just tell, Goat was really worn down from how hard Revolver was making them work offensively. Nobody wanted to sprint with Greg Cohen on the transition turnover. Nobody was there to celebrate with him, so he just was relaxed, and then Lucas Dahlman got there and gave him some dap. How about that grab from Cohen? Tremendous team defense right there. You know, Jeffrey the D and the assist, Cohen the score, but everybody on that line go through it 21 times successfully before the turnover.
Very ironically, like we saw in the first matchup this week in pool play, it was tied at halftime, and then Revolver was able to pull away in the second half. And similar finish here as they built a 4-point lead on Goat at 14-10. Yearwood hounded tightly by Taylor Leahy. Hochhalter backhands it up ahead to Cam Harris. Harris gets it right back to the handler Yearwood. Hammer toss up ahead. There's Harris making another catch. He zips it to the end zone. Massac Kelly hauls it in for the score. Maybe a little too late, though, for Goat. Revolver, who has not been stopped in the second half, will have it. A championship point.
Very casual hammer from Lindquist to Harris, and then Massac Kelly up the line. You know, again, the high degree of difficulty throws Goat can execute, but not as high percentage over the course of the long haul. That's why they're down by 3, and Revolver's receiving with a chance to close it out. Looks like Massac Kelly is going to take the field for this D point. Out there with Powell, Harris, Hochhalter, Ojo, Carroll, and Ellis. Revolver getting ready to receive, looking for another U.S. Open title. It's Schlackett, Higgins, Rasmussen, Kasednar, White, Johnson, and Joy. No Bo Kittredge on the field. They've got a bunch of offensive points to close this one out.
The pull by Toronto, and will this be the final approach of the tournament for San Francisco as they begin to work it up ahead? Simon Higgins, marked tightly by Hochhalter, dumps it to Joy. Joy works it up ahead to Cassidy Rasmussen. Backhand flip and a nice grab there, as it looked like Powell might have a shot at the D, but Kasednar ripped it away. Joy whistles it over to the far sideline. Christian Johnson, a bit more of a touch. Now they go toward the end zone for the championship, and there it is. Joel Schlackett seals the deal, and for the 3rd straight year, Revolver begins the triple leg tour with a big exclamation point saying, we're back, we're ready. They get the championship today as they knock off GOAT.
The national champs in 3 of the last 5 years. A lot of people felt they were the best team in 2012 when they were knocked off by Double Wide, and in 2014 when they were shocked by GOAT in the quarterfinals. Unquestionably, they're the favorite in 2015 too. Without their best player on the field, guys just fill in. They didn't have Ashlyn Joy the first 2 days. They didn't have Robbie Cahill all weekend. It doesn't matter. The pieces are very much interchangeable. They're all part of the intensity, humility, discipline system. Kosednar to Schlackett to win it. Biggest points of this second half were the 2 Ds, Russell Wynn and Jordan Jeffrey. You know, Eli Kearns, you might think he had a quiet game. We didn't call out his name very much, but guys like Kearns and Leahy and Dahlman were just motor defenders all game long. In the second half, those Ds from Wynn and Jeffrey really helped Revolver pull away and put away another title at the U.S. Open.
San Francisco Revolver, your 2015 U.S. Open champions today, a 15-11 win over GOAT from Toronto. Back with more from Westchester after this. The 2015 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultrastar. The Triple Crown Tour, the sport of ultimates premier competitive experience, and by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of ultimate in the United States. For more information or to find out where to play ultimate in your area, visit usaultimate.org. A familiar name can be found atop the U.S. Open Ultimate Championships for the 3rd straight year from San Francisco. It is Revolver, a 15-11 win over GOAT. This was an 8-7 game at halftime, but San Francisco able to pull away late to capture their 3rd consecutive crown. Sean Kenny alongside Evan Lepler. And Evan, we wrap up a busy week of activities. Revolver coming away with the championship. One of their main stars joins us, Simon Higgins. And we're going to swing it down to the field. Simon coming back from the celebration across the way. And first off, Simon, congratulations. We were a little worried yesterday. You exited the game early with what appeared to be an ankle injury, but we're judging by the way you were flying around today, that ankle feels pretty good.
Yeah, no, it feels fine. No, semis, finals, there's no ankle there. It's just adrenaline.
Simon, you guys win this. You're talking in the circle. What were the main focuses, the themes of this tournament victory for Revolver?
Working hard, enjoying the moment. This is a brand new year. It's the first tournament for all these guys, for the new guys, and it's just more exciting to be out here with new faces and all our friends than anything else. We love spending time together. So I think it was just enjoying the moment, playing super hard defense, and everyone committing to doing their jobs.
Are you much more confident now than you were at this time a year ago and you were a Revolver rookie?
I would say so, yeah. Playing all of last year with Revolver, that was pretty eye-opening experience to how competitive this division is and how much you have to elevate your game if you want to be up here playing with the big boys. So definitely a lot more confidence this year than last year. You mentioned the defensive line. The 2 plays that I thought were the turning points was Russell's D when he went up and skied, and then Jordan's D when he launched it to your Bash brother, Greg Cohen. Yeah, no, those were 2 pretty huge points. We knew with the line that they put out there, they were gonna have to make something huge happen. And Jordan coming up with 2 huge Ds. Well, the one that was huge, he just launched it straight to Greg. I think that really cemented that. I think we all kind of knew right when Greg launched in the air. It felt like that put GOAT away. Yeah, definitely. And Russell's D was huge. He went up so big for that. It was really awesome. Now, you have some intense ultimate coming up. Take us through your upcoming schedule leading up to London. Well, I've got to get onto a shuttle right now that leaves for Chicago, playing with the U23 national team and playing with the mixed team. So be having 2-a-day practices for all of next week, and then a tournament in London the week after that, and then flying home and playing a whole bunch more ultimate.
Well, Simon, we don't want you to miss that shuttle, so we're going to let you go. Congratulations, buddy. Great job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Simon.
It is time now for the Discraft Ultra Star play of the game, and this one may be the easiest decision all weekend.
Yeah, SportsCenter top 10 nominee Jeffrey got the D, launched it to Cohen, who launched himself for the score that really felt like it broke Goat's back. And Goat just with no interest in playing transition defense. You saw Andy Ockerlony turn his head, and kind of his facial expression said it all. Goat deserves a ton of credit. They were undermanned all weekend. They battled valiantly, missing so many key pieces, but in the end, Revolver at nearly full strength on Saturday and Sunday here, only really missing Robbie Cahill and Devin Anderson. They get the job done, pulling away from Toronto Goat, and the statement has been made. Revolver is the favorite. Doesn't mean they're going to win it all in Frisco, but they are the #1 team heading into the fall.
3 champions crowned today: Ellipsis, Fury, and now Revolver. Evan, I enjoyed it. Great job.
Sean, my pleasure. Great job yourself.
That's the story from Westchester, the 2015 U.S. Open Championships. For Evan Lepler, I'm Sean Kinney saying so long from Lakota West High School in Westchester. Once again, your final score and your champion, Revolver from San Francisco, 15-11 over Goat. To watch this entire game on replay, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thanks, everybody, for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For our entire crew here from Westchester, good afternoon, everybody.